As a wedding planner who's been in the industry for many years now, my 31 male party trick amongst close friends and family is being able to guess how long my clients' marriages will last with pretty alarming accuracy. If you ask anyone in the industry, there are specific indicators while working with the couple that allow us to gauge compatibility. I can usually get down to around a 6-month window when predicting when photos of each other will disappear from socials. This is not me taking joy in crashing and burning of a relationship. Working in this career field can leave you feeling jaded about relationships in general. So I'm reluctant to work for friends and family. The specific stress wedding planning puts on some people and couples can bring out the worst in them that you don't see in everyday life. My sister's getting married early next year and practically begged me to plan for her, despite my stance on clients I know personally. I finally gave in, and we began the process back in March. Last week, while we met and finalized a few things, she asked me about the party trick I mentioned. She said since I'd been working with her and her fiancé for months now, I could give my prediction as to how long they were going to last. I laughed and tried to move on. I thought she was joking, but she continued to press the issue. After her continually bothering me about this for at least 15 minutes, when I was just trying to move on, I do have work outside of my specific appointment with her that I needed to get to. I finally told her I thought they would last forever. She claimed she didn't believe me and wanted my real number. So I shrugged and told her the truth. 1.5 years. She was livid. I felt incredibly uncomfortable with the whole ordeal, especially with how little she respected my boundaries in what was supposed to be a professional setting, and just tried to usher her out of my office. Instead, she began ranting about my own marriage and said she gave us until the end of the year before we broke up and accused me of being a homewrecker. She finally left, and I emailed her, saying I would no longer be involved in planning. I gave her the contact information for all the vendors we were working with, but told her that the venue would no longer be available as they only booked to people they have existing relationships with, and my involvement was necessary. I've had to break up with clients, but this felt particularly rough. She's now told our parents that I'm purposefully sabotaging her wedding and that I was rude to her when she just asked a playful question. I feel very silly for letting a person disrespect my boundaries repeatedly, something I typically wouldn't tolerate, but I'm now wondering if I'm in the wrong. Am I the idiot? If you push and push to be told information, you alone are responsible for the consequence that hearing it brings. You are not the idiot. Update in 1.5 years whether your number was accurate. With an attitude like that, she probably won't make it to the altar. He tried changing the subject, and then when pressed, lied with the only acceptable answer to that question, and then she wouldn't settle for that even. What was he supposed to say? 5 years? A decade? 20 years and he'll ditch you for a 20-something when he has his midlife crisis? Seriously, what was the sister hoping for? She was an insufferable idiot, asked a question she didn't want the answer to, then refused to accept the placating answer. Everyone's the idiot here. I think you should stop playing this party trick with anyone. Even if you're accurate, it's not a nice thing to say about people. You could have avoided this whole scenario if you never played mental games with people's lives. Now, of course, your sister's an idiot for pushing and pushing, but you should have never told her the truth. Yeah, I can't even imagine wanting to work with someone who has the reputation of saying crap like this about clients in any industry. Honestly, you are the idiot for the loss of venue. There are ways you could have backed off and still salvaged that. Leaving her in the lurch was not cool. If you genuinely believe that you have an accurate talent for predicting the length of marriages, genuinely care for your sister, the time to reveal this info is not as a party trick. It's to be done with heartfelt and genuine advice. Where's the concern that your sister's looking to marry someone that you think is destined for failure? I think you missed an opportunity with your sister. Maybe she feels uncertain about her choice. She was ineptly looking for a real connection with you. So, of course, the flip year and a half hurt. I, 27 male, have 3 of my nephews over for the weekend. They're cool kids, and I love having them over. However, one of them, Eric, a teen male, has a gigantic appetite. Like, literally every time I see this kid, he's wolfing down food. You wouldn't think it because he's super lank, but I guess he's at that age where it's normal. I've been there. At dinner last night, we had a nice meatloaf and some mac and cheese. I gave everyone big servings, and the other 2 kids were happy with it. But naturally, Eric wanted more. I told him he should probably just save room for dessert, and he did, but he still wanted to eat another serving of dinner after dessert. I wanted to save some food for our dinner tomorrow, so I told him he couldn't have any more. But my wife, 26, went over my head and told Eric he could have more if he wanted, and he went on to eat so much that he almost instantly fell asleep on the couch, where my other nephews were playing video games. It was overall a really good day, but I was miffed that my wife went over my head over the food thing, and when we went to bed, I told her I felt like what we'd served was reasonable. She argued that since Eric is a guest, he can have as much food as he wants, and she can always buy more. She usually stocks the kitchen. She thinks I'm being a jerk for thinking I can control how much we do or don't serve, and that it's weird. I would have told Eric he could only have another serving if he at least checked with her first. I haven't been able to stop thinking about it since. Was I being the idiot? I think I was in the right. Why not save some dinner? Eric already had a lot of food as it was. You are the idiot. He's a young, growing teen who's hungry. Let him eat. It'd be one thing if he just wanted sweets. He wanted more meatloaf. He was clearly still hungry. Even if he was chubby, you give him more food. You knew him well enough to know how much he could eat. Why didn't you plan for this? Do you remember how much you ate at his age? Every teen boy I know is a seemingly bottomless pit regarding food. It's normal. You don't mention it, but does he play sports or have an active gym class at school? Not only is he growing, but he also probably moves around a lot more than you do, even just playing around with friends. You even said that he's lanky. Could he have an extremely fast metabolism? It sounds like there are no health concerns, but you decided that your nephew should eat what you arbitrarily decided is the right amount for him. I'm going against the grain here and saying you are not the idiot. Yes, he's a growing boy, but he also needs to learn how to take no for an answer, especially in someone else's home. He won't starve to death because he didn't get a third helping of food. Good Lord, there are so many people right now who don't even have one helping. The leftovers were going to be used for the next day. So now OP has to replan that. In our house, this would be a big deal. Food is really expensive these days. I agree. What is it with people acting like OP was starving the child? He's just greedy, and the fact that he's a teenager does not free him from having manners. It also sounds like he has a lack of control over food and doesn't know about moderation. Being skinny doesn't mean that it's healthy for him to eat without control, and eating yourself into a coma is dangerous. My husband's little brothers live with us. We had planned on being child-free for many reasons, but there was no way we were going to let them two go into foster care. They're only toddlers. I don't know how true this is, but we were told we would likely never see them again if we didn't take them in. It was hard. I don't regret a bit of it, but we had to change many things. We're definitely losing money a lot faster now, too. And sadly, we even had to give my dog away because the older boy is terrified of dogs and was having panic attacks every time he saw her. My mom was horrified. She hates that I had to sacrifice so much, even though I never signed up for it, which I understand. She mostly despises the fact that I gave our dog away. I get that too. I was so heartbroken over it. I cried. But unlike what most people think, the constant exposure made the older brother worse. Not even therapy was helping because he was so overwhelmed already. My mom thinks I did a cruel thing and says my priority was the dog. I feel guilty. but I'm so busy with the kids, and I have bigger things to worry about, insensitive as it sounds. I know my dog's safe with loving owners, and I've moved on. I was having a really tough day yesterday. My boss had been harder on me ever since I took a break to focus on the kids, so I had to deal with that. My husband was working overtime, and the kids were having a bad day and were sobbing over everything. The older one refused to eat and even threw a bunch of my things on the floor. My mom then dropped by for a quick visit. I was already on edge, so when my mom barged in, talking about how she couldn't stop thinking of her, I was so lost. I was waiting for her to say a name, but she kept referring to this her by pronouns and vague references. I also cleaned up the broken glass and ensured the kids were fine. I just kind of went, "I'm sorry, but who the heck is her?" My mom's jaw literally dropped, and she was all like, "You don't know? You actually don't know? What on earth is wrong with you? She's been with you for years." Then it clicked. I felt bad, but again, bigger things to worry about. I told her as much. I just told her to leave. She shook her head at me the whole time and said I was a sociopath. She understands my choice, but she thinks I'm a cold-hearted witch because I forgot about my dog. I feel like one as well, but at the same time, I've just moved on to the kids that require all my attention. I sometimes forget to shower, embarrassing as it is. Am I the idiot? Edit. My mom feels for the kids, but is also quite naive about foster care and adoption. She thinks our actions were unnecessary and the kids would have been fine. She never offered to adopt my dog, and I never asked. The dogs she has seem to keep her busy, usually. Not the idiot by a long shot, and bravo for taking in your husband's sibs. But who the heck gives people crap for prioritizing a child over a pet? Having to rehome your pet is a very hard decision to make, and obviously, you didn't make it lightly. But your mom, does she even acknowledge that children are in the equation? She sounds like a monster. If she thinks the kids would have been fine in foster care, why doesn't she also think the dog would be fine? There's something else going on in her brain. Perhaps it's more about wanting to be a grandparent to genetic children, or maybe something else. Make it clear that she isn't to bring it up again, or she won't be welcome. These kids have enough problems. They don't need someone in their lives who will create more, either directly or indirectly, and neither do you or your hubby. Having genetic grandchildren could be a reason. She's mentioned me having babies before, but never really forced it. I usually don't let her over when the kids are around because they aren't quite used to strangers yet, but I was so preoccupied with the glass on the floor that it slipped my mind. Thank you. I, 24 male, have been with my boyfriend, 27, for 2 months now, and for my mother's birthday, we were invited over to my parents' house for dinner. I'm a vegan, and so are all of my close relatives. My boyfriend loves eating meat and dairy. It's not what I would choose to do, but he's an adult and gets to make his own decisions. I've never dictated him to eat in a certain way before. It was the first time my parents had had us over for more than drinks and snacks, and my mother had spent days preparing everything for a perfect evening. When I talked to my boyfriend about those meals my mother was cooking, he seemed a bit upset about the lack of meat. It's a vegan household, and every guest except for him is at the very least a vegetarian. What did he expect? I assured him that there would be plenty of options he liked: pasta salad, baked potatoes, soups, beans, lentils, loads of cakes. In response, he told me he'd bring some steak for himself to make it bearable. I asked him not to do that because I think that bringing your own food to a dinner party when there's plenty of food available is fairly rude. Obviously, that doesn't apply to allergies or extremely picky eaters. I found it especially disrespectful because my parents can't stand the smell of meat, so bringing meat into their household is blatantly ignoring their boundaries. I explained all of that to him, and he got huffy and argued that I didn't mind him eating meat near me. Yeah, that's true, but it isn't about me, but about my parents. who have invited us inside their home, and just because I'm comfortable with something doesn't mean they have to be. In the end, he agreed to not take any steak with him, but he told me I was being too pushy about our lifestyle and that it was no surprise that no one liked vegans, and called me an idiot for forcing him to not eat meat for a single evening. Not the idiot. I'm not vegan or vegetarian, but there are plenty of non-meat dishes that I could stand or even enjoy for one meal. He's making it into way too big a deal. I swear, the people who insist on or demand eating meat during vegan dinners only do it as a form of protest. Man, it's just one meal with your family that's vegan/vegetarian. It's a matter of basic manners to respect the beliefs of the host. Unless he has allergies or dietary restrictions, I assure you, he will survive a meal without meat or cheese. What if your boyfriend was invited to lunch by a Muslim family? Would he ask them to cook pork sausages? The dude needs to grow up a bit. Beyond this single episode, I invite you to reflect on your relationship with your boyfriend, because the food topic will probably return to every reunion with your family, Thanksgiving, Christmas, etc. In the long run, it could be exhausting if you don't find a point of agreement. Honestly, his reaction is crappy and would be a deal breaker. I, 23 female, have a new roommate, 24 female, Allie. I am solely on the lease, and she lives with me, but has not signed a lease yet. It's only been 2 weeks. We both have one cat and have been slowly introducing them to each other. Both pets have lived with other animals, dogs and cats, in the past. This past week, I came home one day, and I couldn't find my cat. After 10 minutes of looking, I found him behind the toilet in the bathroom, not looking good. I helped him out from behind to find a huge cut and bleeding on his right shoulder area. There was a lot of blood. I immediately took him to the vet. He ended up needing to stay overnight and get stitches. I contacted Allie while at the vet, and she said, "Oh yeah, my cat got him pretty good, so I locked yours in the bathroom." My vet bill was over $600 when all was said and done, and my cat had to be monitored for about 14 days after. I talked to Allie about it, and she admitted that she had left the cats alone together because she wanted to play video games, and hers attacked mine, and she didn't know what to do. She locked mine in the bathroom so she could continue her game and forget about him. When I got home from the vet, I took the bill to Allie and said we were splitting the bill. She instantly got upset and said there was no way she should have to pay for that when it was my cat. I told her that her actions and pet caused the accident, and she needs to be more careful when introducing pets. Allie's refusing to pay half the bill. I told her that if she couldn't own up and pay half the bill, I could not have her living with me. If I can't trust her to be alone with our pets, I don't want my cat to get hurt in the future because of her. Our coworkers are now telling me that I'm in the wrong because I shouldn't be giving her a pay or move out ultimatum. Am I in the wrong here? Edit. Yes, I did have my cat locked in my room when I left for work in the morning. Allie let him out to help with the introductions. Not the idiot. Pay the bill yourself and kick this person out. She's only been there 2 weeks, so it's likely she has no tenancy rights. Refund her any deposits or rent payments and tell her to get the heck out. If you don't, your cat will either accidentally run away or her cat will continue to hurt it. Either way, she's not going to give a crap, and she just proved to you that she's too irresponsible and immature to live with. So pull the plug and get her the heck out now. As for your coworkers, tell them to mind their own business. This OP, making her pay half the bill is not going to change how irresponsible she is. She clearly has no remorse about this and doesn't understand why. She can't be trusted to ever be alone with your cat, which is not a tenable living situation. Do what you need to do to legally get her out and get a new roommate. Unfortunately, $300 will probably be the cost of finding out how unreliable she is before something worse happens.